So, without further ado, my name is Samantha Lane, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at the SE Shires Company. And I'm actually here at the SE Shires Company today. Um, we're doing a whole bunch of filming for some upcoming content that we're really excited about. So, it's been a very busy day of being on camera for a lot of our crew. And now we get to do it live with a pretty wonderful new addition to our Shires family, Dr. Brianne Borden. So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's his dream come true to be talking to you and promoting these instruments and playing.
I know playing for people, it's a lot.
Right?
So for everybody out there who's watching this live and later on, this is part of our recent Shires TV series where we're partnering with some of our artists to showcase our incredible Q series instruments. The Q series line of instruments has continued to grow over the years, and it's really become a wonderful staple for musicians of all playing abilities, whether it's an advancing student all the way up to professional musicians who choose these as their primary horns or maybe as a doubling instrument. But especially now during COVID times, we thought it would be a really great opportunity to get these horns into the hands of some of our artists so that you at home can actually hear what they sound like. You can learn a little bit more about them instead of just something that I might say or something that you read online. We always encourage you, if it's possible and in a safe environment for you to test them for yourself. That's a lot of fun, of course. And just a quick announcement or reminder, I suppose, that we have a pretty awesome program going on right now. We're offering a rebate and instant savings on Q Series instruments of $100 right now. And there's also financing options available for Q Series instruments. So you can learn more if you want to go onto our website at seshires.com/2020 rebate. And it gives you a little bit more information. But as always, if you have questions about any of our instruments, you can always go onto the website, just the normal seshires.com, and send us a message through there. But I'd love to just tell you a little bit more about our artist today. Dr. Brianne Borden recently joined our Shires family, though she's been playing Shires for a while now, and I'm so happy that she's had a great experience with the instruments. But she's the visiting assistant professor at the State University of New York, Potsdam, so SUNY Potsdam, and she's responsible for teaching a large studio of trumpet players, directing the brass ensemble, teaching trumpet techniques, and also teaching a musician's wellness class. You might also know her from being the co-owner and CEO of Yoga for All Musicians, which is a virtual yoga studio, and it brings weekly yoga classes to musicians all over the globe. So she's been doing a lot of work, especially during this time, to try to keep everybody sane and healthy, I think.
I'm trying, myself included in that, I think. But yeah, I talk to people, which I think is a very real thing right now, where we want to make music, we want to be working. And sometimes I'm like, my calendar is full. And that's the benefit of living in a virtual, having half of my life be in a virtual space anyway. It would have been before COVID too. So
Yeah, and I'll love to pick your brain a little bit too about that as we kind of go through. But one of the amazing things about these sessions is that our artists have all graciously agreed to play something on the instruments for us. And before chops get too cold, I always like to at least start the session at the top with that. So, Brand, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about what you wanted to play today,
yeah.
I'll just take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be playing, I've known this book as the French Arbin, and there's going to be someone out there that probably corrects me on all of this, but I'm going to try to just share my understanding of this book, which is a lot of the French editions of the Arbin's book actually come with this third section, I believe, that has modern etudes at the end of them, so not written by Arbin. So they're 27 modern etudes at the end of it, and the book is really great. I think it's a really awesome kind of complement to a lot of maybe Charlier or Biche work that students are used to doing. They're a little bit shorter, and they're by different composers. So the one I'll be playing, I'm doing number 1, and it's by Jacques Ibert. So a familiar composer to some people probably, but there's also some Tomasi in here, Desenclos, some pretty cool French composers in this, and it's kind of like in some places a hidden gem in my opinion. So this will be number 1 from that.
That's so exciting.
Oops, hold on. Microphones here.
That was fantastic. And yeah, I mean it's such a nice, unique addition to some repertoire.
Yeah, yeah, I discovered them in my undergraduate degree. Well, I should not say I discovered them. They were handed to me by my teacher in undergraduate degree, in my undergraduate degree, and I have the honor of sitting in my teacher's office, which is a really unique experience. My predecessor was my mentor as well, and so I'm sitting in the office that I took lessons in for 4 years, and it's nice because a lot of my current students were his students, so I understand the repertoire that they were given and that they're used to because it's the same, a lot of the same stuff that I was used to. So um, after being away for a few years, coming back and revisiting some of the stuff that he um, was citing me back then in a different lens and with a teacher eyes instead of student eyes has been really awesome and exciting. So yeah, I love that. And anybody who hasn't checked that out, it's got some really beautiful etudes in there.
And is that something that you work with your students through as well?
Yeah, yeah, quite a few of my students, especially ones that are just kind of like flying through Charlier and really like this style. It's a really awesome supplement to that.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're very soloistic. They're also not quite as long as, if you didn't notice, they're not as long as Charlier, so they're a little bit easier to just kind of like play one off instead of some of the two-page Charliers can be pretty taxing. So
just a little bit, yeah.
yeah.
No, that's great. So I'd love to pick your brain as a performer and as a teacher, and especially a collegiate teacher, about like the role of C trumpet for you and your students, and like how you see that fitting in, and maybe some practicing tips and techniques that you kind of drive to for C trumpet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, um, I have the fortune of teaching a bunch of future music educators. Potsdam is known for its music education program, and so I believe 15 of my 16 students are music education majors, which is pretty awesome. I like to find ways where it's going to be applicable to them too. So I've got one solely performance major and he wants to be in orchestra and he's gonna crush it in the world and is like playing on C trumpet every single chance he can get. And so what I try to do is show how this can also apply to education majors, even if they're not wanting to audition for orchestras in their future, at least right now where they're at. And a lot of them have come in without ever having played a C trumpet. So I usually wait until I feel that their fundamentals are pretty well set and well set up before handing them a C trumpet. I talk a lot about playing into the center of the horn and being able to find, if they can on their B flat trumpet, find the center of each note and the really resonant spot that that the horn is playing at, then we can find that on C trumpet. And that makes that transition a million times easier. And I usually start them on C trumpet with a combination of things. Usually, week one, it is like, okay, you're warming up on your C trumpet today, and you're going to put a drone on. And I really like the long tones that are in the Vizzuti book, the book one. And I, I tell them this is where some of like my yoga stuff comes in. I'm like, turn off the lights, turn up the volume, make it a meditation, and like you just lock into where the intonation is on the horn and playing it again, playing in the center of the horn and what that means, because that can be a hard thing. I remember as a student myself when people told me that, I was like, where is that? Where is the center? Like someone tell me, but how, and so getting them to feel that, and because it really is, it's a feeling, and when you're there, when you're locked in, it's like, how could I ever play any other way? But when you're not there, you're not there, and it's a process finding it. So working on getting them to play in tune first and foremost, and then finding ways to use C trumpet in repertoire. So I really like the Bordoni etudes. transposition is obviously something that is important for trumpet players, but especially people who are interested in being orchestral trumpet players, but also educators being able to transpose like that, which the Bordoni is a really great aid to get there, um, is so important. And I think that they'll be grateful for that once they end up in front of a band. I hope. I'll do a lot of that, and that also helps them to sing through the horn and to learn how to really just play musically, express through their instrument, and like I said, just sing instead of worrying so much about like, okay, my C is this much flat and my E is this much, like actually just making music. And if they have a musical concept, if they're singing through their horn and they're playing in the center of it, it's really not that hard. It makes it pretty darn easy to play the C trumpet. And airwise it's not too different than playing the B flat trumpet. And when I was handed a C trumpet, my teacher said, this is no different. This is no different. Don't worry about it. Maybe you do an alternate fingering here or there. We'll see. But
Really,
yeah, exactly. So, um, those are kind of my main things. I like to put orchestral excerpts in front of every single student, whether they ever want to be in an orchestra or not. Again, for my education majors, learning how a specific excerpt fits into a score and doing the score study aspect of it. And then there is something to be said for the process of preparing an excerpt and the kind of detail that's required to do that successfully, and the type of work ethic that's required, and I think the level that you hold yourself at. So those are kind of my main, like, C trumpet, when I'm putting a student on one, the process I go through to get them to play it comfortably.
yeah. No, and it's really nice because it's such a it's a more comprehensive way that you're describing it, and it's really nice that it's not just, you know, a utilitarian purpose. It's part of your everyday learning and your everyday development as a trumpet player, both performance wise, music. I love the fact that you brought the music ed piece into this too, because there's a lot to be said for the larger picture.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great tool to have for band directors or for anybody who's going to be teaching. And an educator could be, I mean, everyone. I think if you go into music, you're going into education, regardless of what your degree is. You're going into education. I tell my students that every single day. And so, when they are quiet during studio class, I'm like, okay, future educators, let's, you know, so having that tool, they may be placed in it to teach in front of somebody who is working on C trumpet stuff. So they've got to at least feel comfortable on the horn, or comfortable comfortable teaching the horn. So
Yeah. And so, what about for some of your, I guess maybe advancing students, or maybe some of your own personal uh, tips and techniques for approaching C trumpet? So, like when you're preparing a piece, maybe like the etude that you just played for us, like what
mhm.
to it in your head as you're thinking about, not necessarily selecting B flat versus C, but okay, I'm doing this on C trumpet. Like this is how I'm going to gear this up.
Yeah. A lot of that is just making sure I'm playing it regularly. Um, that's not such a challenge with me with C trumpet, because I'm playing it often. But I've been places in my life where someone has me pick up a piccolo after a month of no pick gigs or something, and I'm like, wow, I should really be doing this. But I think with any trumpet, the more you're warming up with it, doing fundamentals, and I like to use the terms warming up and fundamental routines as different, because I think you can do your fundamental routine at any point in time. And I think for a lot of students, it's actually really beneficial to do your fundamental routine when you're a little fatigued, because if you can lock into your fundamentals when things are tired, then they're really there. That's how we know they're really there. When I'm feeling good, I've got my fundamentals down.
That's the real test.
Yeah, exactly. So doing your fundamental routine on your C trumpet and doing it as diligently as you do your B flat work, if not more diligently, because it's not necessarily home base for a lot of people. We get handed a B flat trumpet, sometimes cornet in fourth, fifth grade, whatever it is, and like that feels like home. And so doing as much as we can to make the C trumpet feel just at home. And so for me, that also means having instruments that are all very similar to each other. And like you said, I've been playing on Shires for a long time, and my B flat, I play on the AZ B flat, and transitioning to a Shires C has been a game changer because it really doesn't feel like a huge difference at all.
Yeah. And we just kind of, and for all the folks watching at home, we just went through some really fun like C trumpet testing and stuff with you. In addition to these Q series, like you were able to test some of the other custom series C trumpets as well. I think you found a new baby that
Yes.
came back to the factory, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But maybe for people who are watching, can you describe your impression of Shire C trumpets, and then maybe we could talk a little bit too, just about this particular one that you have been playing on today.
Yeah. Yeah. I like I said, I like my instruments to be similar. It just makes it just to me it makes life a lot easier. I like to take away any excuse I could potentially give myself, or a student could give me, or taking away the excuses is important. And um, playing on a one type of horn for my B flat and then switching and having it feel different, and the resonance spots are in different places, like that's an excuse I could give myself, and hopefully that wouldn't be the case. But I won't name names, but I was playing on a different horn before I got reacquainted with the Shire C's, and going away from that and picking up the Shire's horns again, like the best way I have to describe it, and I wish I had better words than this, but it feels like home. Like it does feel like home because my B flat has felt like home for so long. And so that feeling of like I don't have to worry. Like I am able to make the music that I want to make, and the instrument isn't going to be getting in the way, and if anything it's going to be enhancing. And so that's what I'm always looking for, is I know my sound concept, what is going to amplify that sound concept the most. And that has been, I mean, this Q series, the Q, what am I on, 13? Like I forget all the numbers. Yeah, I'm playing on the 13. um has been just like that. And I actually, you mentioned I got a new baby, but before I got the 401, I was just playing on the Qs. I was playing on the Q13, and it was like I might keep this. you know it was really it was a big step up from where I was at before that. And I was playing on a pretty high grade, well acclaimed horn before that. So it really just made me feel like everything that felt like it was getting in my way was just, the walls were down and I could just play.
It makes me so happy to hear too. I mean, like it is such a nice thing when you can find, the right voice for you as a musician and the thing that makes your life easier. And as a practicing yogi, I'm sure you can say that if you can take the tension out of so much of it, I mean, you can really enjoy yourself and go so much further too. Um, but yeah, so that Q13 C trumpet, just for anybody who's interested, I did pop the link into the chat. And I'd love to like pick your brain a little bit more about some other stuff, but just for a couple quick little equipmenty things. This is based on some of our most popular C trumpets. It's actually not all too dissimilar from the 401 that Brianne is also playing on. But it's all of our trumpets are one piece bell, two piece clusters. It has an incredible. The thing that I love about our C trumpets is the response point. I feel like I've never played a C trumpet before that the articulation is there before I even think about articulating. Like it's a pretty like amazing phenomenon. It's very crisp, it's very clean, it's very immediate. And then that allows you in terms of production to just relax because you know everything's going to speak right away.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have to worry about is a note going to come out? Is it going to speak? I played a pretty traumatizing rendition of Tchaik 4 once, which like, A flats above the staff. If you're playing on a trumpet that you don't trust on that already pretty unstable note, like you're gonna be in trouble. And I was. This was a few years ago. So like that, you want to take that trust factor out of it, because then it's my fault too. Like if I then I can just, and so is totally game changer, because like you said, that response is there. If I know where I'm putting the note, it'll be there.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's so much fun to be able to play on an instrument where like intonation is done on very decidedly so that again like you're not having to mess around with a ton of alternates. You're not having to, like you said, give yourself an excuse. Well, my E's are already going to be out of tune, or it's already going to be a little bit squirrely. For me, like when we play test these horns and when we're putting them up, I mean, our Q series and our custom series are held to the same exact standard, same exact like play testing routine, same exact approach to the design and the build and the end result too. I mean, you should, regardless of what model Shires you're playing on, be able to have a singing beautiful sound out in the hall.
Yeah, yeah, and it has that, and that's what I love, is the brilliance you expect from a C trumpet. Like it's there. And I played this in we have a faculty brass quintet here, and I played it in that for I think actually 2 or 3 weeks. I was playing it in it, and it felt really great to play in the chamber setting, as well as I've been doing a couple solo things on it, and it it's versatile. It's been able to switch back and forth, and I feel like I have control over my color, and the the horn is just like icing on top of that it's just adding on to whatever. It's glitter.
So we did, I think we talked about it in a previous session, our new Shires Studio Sampler program. So we've done this with actually teachers all over the country, and we're going to be doing some throughout the world too. But basically, we're able to partner with different institutions and teachers to send in instruments, Q series for the teachers, and sometimes in certain cases, depending on COVID safety protocols, for students to try too. So we were able to send some trumpets in for Dr. Borden and her students to try. And like I think it was fun for the students too, right? To be able to
Oh
test.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a student who bought a Q13. Uh,
Yay.
yeah, yeah. And it was like, I don't think it was a very difficult decision for him either. It was like, yep, we're doing it. And everyone that I've watched try it, it's like, oh, like it's the look on the face of like, wow, this is what playing could feel like. And we've gotten a really awesome response, and it's just exciting. I mean, I'm staring at all of the cases right now. That's what I'm looking at here. Like, they'll come to my office and see all of these trumpets that I'm like, yeah, this is a really awesome thing.
The candy factory in your
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, but good.
So I'd love to, if you don't mind, pick your brain a little bit more about two things, about your trumpet studio and the work that you do with your students, and maybe some takeaways for any of us at home who are maybe still like doing the virtual learning and stuff like that. Just some things that you're finding success with your students. And then I'd love to hear and tell everybody a little bit more about the other side of what you do as well with the yoga for all musicians too. Um,
Yeah.
so if you don't mind standing on a soapbox for a minute
Yeah.
and telling us a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. So right now my studio is actually, we trade back and forth between one week will be virtual and one week will be in person. There's a few reasons for that. I do have a few students that are entirely virtual this semester. That was an option the school gave, which I think is really awesome. So I just teach them virtually every semester. The only bummer about that is that I'm in the first year of my job and I have students I've never physically met. And I'm like, I just
Yeah.
want to hug you. Like, so, but that's part of it. I'm very lucky. Yeah, exactly. Um, but then I teach in an alternate location, is what we call it, which is really just a classroom that isn't being used right now, so that we can be about 15 feet apart from each other. We are using bell covers, and then with the circulation in the building, the guidelines we've been given is we can play for half an hour, and
Hmm.
then the room has to air out for a full hour. We can talk masked beyond that. So whenever it's their week to do an in-person lesson, they submit a recording to me, which is nice because recording ourselves playing is something that I've been giving and getting advice on for years and years and years and years, and now it's like sink or swim. We have to be recording, and I am convinced that the generation of trumpet students, of music students that are going through college right now, while it is difficult and while it is um, not the college life I saw, they are going to be phenomenal musicians because they are, first of all, they're just making it through a bunch of stuff. And if they can make it through this and keep their fire lit and stay motivated, that's going to be a tool for the rest of their lives that they're going to tap into. But they're also recording themselves. And so when they have their in-person lesson, we sit for the first 5 minutes and listen together to their recording. Yeah, which maybe I'm mean, I don't know.
No,
Um,
a little bit. No, but that's great.
yeah, yeah. So we sit and listen to their recording together and have a conversation about it. So we're still using that time so that just because we can only play for half an hour, their lesson isn't just half an hour. They get the full hour of the lesson. So we have a conversation, talk about ways to make changes, what they're going to do in their practice session next time with that particular piece, and then we go to the horn. And we are playing with bell covers as well, so that poses its own um, challenges in certain ways. Just like I would love to hear my students just unadulterated sound, no bell cover, no zoom, no, but um they both have their positives. So I've been liking going back and forth because then I'm hearing them in person, I'm getting that personal interaction. We're listening to their recordings, but then the following week it's like down to business, we're playing for almost a full hour, and because we can, because we're they're in a totally different room. um, so so it's been really nice to be able to go back and forth between those two things, and there are some things that I am going to take into my teaching after we don't have to be this distanced. I hope, at least. I've been learning a lot through it as well. One big thing that I have been trying to do is find a way to build community in my studio. So I've 16 students, and 8 of them are first year students. So
Wow.
it's just, yeah, yeah. And I just want them, like, all I want is for us to all go like hiking together, have a studio party, or all the things that I have such fond memories of. Um, and we can't necessarily do that. And so I've been finding different ways to build community, whether that's like a Zoom pizza night, or we do every single week. I love Zoom because it randomizes these breakout rooms, so I don't have to make this decision. And I will randomly do breakout rooms where it'll be 2 people, and that person, whoever you're assigned with in that breakout room, that's your fundamentals buddy for the week.
Uh,
So yeah, yeah. We work a lot out of Whiff Rudd's book. I
yeah.
love that book so much. So that is like, you're doing fundamentals, even if it's over Zoom, and they can get together in person if they are outside. It has officially gotten cold here, so that may not be happening quite as much anymore. But so now it'll be almost entirely virtual. But yeah, they have somebody to play for, to play with, even if it's not like duets every day or anything like that. They're at least experiencing and getting to know each other that way. So that's kind of what's going on in my studio.
And that is, again, like it's a really nice, comprehensive, and inspiring and positive approach to being able to, I hate to say make the best out of a situation, but like it really shows some true grit on the part of your students and on the part of our colleagues who are teachers like yourself to find a way to keep people happy and find joy in what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to like give a shout out to my students too, because they're doing a ton to make it happen. We have a little like Halloween video that they're putting out. It's all done. It's all driven by them. Like yeah, they are really, really awesome for the energy that they've been putting into this semester, because I recognize that this could be difficult. It is difficult, but I always wonder what I would have been like as a freshman in college if this were happening to me, and I don't think I would be so nice. So
Nope.
they're awesome.
It is. I'm so inspired to talk to so many of our friends who are going through this, whether they're students and pursuing degrees or colleagues on the other side who are teaching and stuff. For us here at Shires, I mean, really, that's the most important work that somebody could be doing is working with musicians, and we're just a tiny piece of it over here. But the fact that we get to try to talk with you guys a little bit more and share that for the rest of the world, at least I feel like it's a positive thing that people can take away from. So, but speaking of positive things for people to take away from, so your other light, your other part of your life, you moonlight as a yoga instructor as well, but with a specific focus, right, for like health and wellness and yoga for musicians specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have been teaching yoga just in general for almost 7 or 8 years now, and really have fallen in love with it. And I fell in love with practicing yoga actually because I developed performance injuries. I got tendonitis in my shoulders. I had tennis elbow, and I was dealing with quite a bit of performance anxiety at the time as well. And so I started going to yoga classes, and turned my world upside down. And so I kind of, when I went off to my master's, I wanted it to be somewhere that I could also get a yoga teaching certification. And so I ended up at Boulder, Colorado, which is kind of a yoga, I don't know, hotspot. Yeah. So I I started a little bit of yoga for musicians work there. They have a wellness initiative, which is really awesome, and it's a really incredible initiative that they have going on at that school. And then I knew when I was going for my doctorate that my dissertation, I was like, my dissertation is going to be yoga for musicians. I'm going to research on yoga for musicians. And so that's what I ended up doing. And pretty much even before I think I even defended my final dissertation, I had started making connections with other people who were interested in similar things, and really close friendships. And so we got together and we were thinking of how can we kind of join forces, instead of, we could be out there uh, you know trying to kind of compete with each other and doing our own thing, or we can join forces and like bring this to more people and higher quality, because now we're making more connections. And so it was kind of something that was a dream, and then the pandemic hit, and suddenly my two close friends, Claire Howard and Amelia Rosenberger, we were on FaceTime for hours and hours and hours a day, starting a business, doing the contract, figuring out how to form an LLC, what does our website need to look like, all of that stuff. And we we stand by it being virtual and beyond pandemic life. If we can look forward to that, it, we will remain virtual for the foreseeable future, because one of our philosophies is that we want teachers that understand. So we only hire teachers who are classical musicians themselves. They all have graduate degrees in music, so they know what it's like to be a musician. and they also have extensive training or done research in yoga, meditation, breath work. So in order to get that, there's 6 of us. So we got 3 teachers, 3 owners, and we're scattered across. We've got California, Minnesota, Texas. I'm in New York. We're kind of everywhere. And so if we want the teachers that we want, they we have to be virtual. And so we're dedicated to that quality and to that understanding, and we speak to being a musician in every single one of our classes. So we talk about the potential injuries you could face. We talk about performance anxiety. We have real conversations that are often lacking in studios, unfortunately. And so we are willing to have those conversations and be a support system for somebody who might be dealing with recovering from an injury or performance anxiety, or even, just the stress that we've all been through in terms of being a musician and a music major specifically.
Yeah. I know it's a very interesting world that we live in as musicians, and to have an outlet in a positive way.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing thing.
Yeah. 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 And it's one of those things too where we know you can't, it's very difficult to tell a musician to take a break.
Yeah, of
So
course.
we don't usually, like, that's not, it's like, no, 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 this is in my blood. I'm not taking a break. Give me tools to cope. Give me tools to deal with it. And so that's kind of what we aim to provide.
No, that's great. So you are super active uh, through this. I mean, like more so than so many people, really. Like because you're out there, you're teaching, you're working with your students every single day. You're doing the yoga for all musicians. You're doing all these clinics and online virtual things too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
can you run us down, like, for both performing and on the yoga side? I mean, like, you've done some amazing things, and you've got more stuff coming up too. Like, you're
Mhm.
so busy.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, yes, I am. I love it. I don't know if I've ever lived life any other way. This is really, yeah, really just kind of what I've always done. But um, yeah, I feel very, very, very lucky, especially considering. I mean, I didn't know I was going to have this job. I had no clue. I applied and I went through the process, and I feel really lucky that I landed it. And I graduated my doctorate in May, and there was a couple months in between that and knowing that I was getting this job that I was like, I don't know what I don't know what to do right now. Like, where and so I really thought I was planning to, like, I don't know, just leave Phoenix, move somewhere where I could gig and be closer to family, and just, like, figure it out and keep applying for everything possible. So it feels very, very, very unreal that I am where I am and I'm as busy as I am. So even when things feel crazy and chaotic, it is like such a blessing and an honor. And it's really wonderful because a lot of it too is for friends of mine. Like, I end up talking to people that I just love, and I love hanging out with them and getting to see their studios and how they're running things and how they're doing. And if oddly, if the past few months has done anything, I think it's brought a lot of people closer together, because it's normal to sit on Zoom with people for hours on end now, and normal to, just FaceTime out of nowhere. I've reconnected with more people than I would have otherwise. So
Oh, absolutely. And so upcoming, I know that you have, I mean, I've been seeing flyers for virtual events all over the place that you're doing throughout the rest of the semester and into next year too already. Um, so, and then what else is on your docket for performing?
what is on my docket for?
Capacity that is. I mean, like, I see posting tons of videos, like, on your personal page and stuff like that too. But
Yeah, yeah. So fortunately, our faculty brass quintet is active. We rehearse at a distance and play at a distance and all that good stuff. But I'm also I will say I'm also very lucky to be in a place where numbers are really down and we are all getting tested every other week. So the way we are existing is probably a little different than other people, but yeah, I get a COVID test every other week, and so do my students. So there's a little bit of a level of trust there, which is really nice.
Okay.
But we actually had a quintet recital last week, and now we're preparing for the Orchestra of Northern New York, and we are doing as a quintet some holiday stuff. So we're preparing some recording stuff for that. I am I am spending the winter doing a bunch of recording if I can. I have been working up a lot of unaccompanied stuff and just stuff that is kind of relevant to where we are in the world right now, and just going to get into the hall as much as I can to do that. And I am hoping to do a recital next semester as well. I'm trying to think if there's
I'm so excited to hear some of that unaccompanied stuff. It's going to be pretty powerful, I'm sure.
It is. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and it's stuff that I've always played pretty traditional recitals. Just kind of playing what is placed in front of me in a lot of senses, and so playing some unaccompanied stuff. I'm also hoping, I know a lot of people are doing etude challenges and etude books and whatnot, and I absolutely love the Longinati book, and I've got a lot of my students on that, and I'm finding, and I could be wrong, so I apologize in advance, but I haven't found a ton of resources on it and recordings on it out there. So I've always been, yeah, so I've always been like, well, I guess I'll make it. So that's on the docket as well, in terms of, I don't know, I tend to over plan. We'll see what actually ends up when the winter's over.
That's exciting, though. Well, I I'm so grateful for you taking the time to do this today. I guess the only other thing that I would ask you is, do you have any other thoughts about, like, just to round it back, Q series trumpets, like through your experience or through your students' experience that you can share with people who are watching this video?
Yeah. So I reflected kind of on my experience, especially as a student, where um, I primarily played on used C trumpets. And that was great because they were a little more affordable. They were still good horns. But there are also some things where if someone presses down their valves a certain way and I don't, I'm dealing with valve sticking all the time, and I dealt with that a lot through my undergrad and my master's, and being able to have like the Q series horn, which is probably as, costs as much as whatever I paid for my used horn, and it's brand new and it's yours, and you get to decide what happens to it, for better or worse, I guess.
How the valve action is.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I would have loved to have that opportunity as a student myself, to be playing on a, shiny new baby, and get to be the sole owner of it, and still not break the bank, because being a music student, being a musician is expensive and hard.
And especially for a trumpet player with so many things that we have to do and play and own, B flat, C, E flat, D, pick, cornet, flugelhorn. I mean, we're talking about all these things like right before our session started, just like, so many horns. It's crazy.
I know,
Um,
yeah, my trumpet garden next to me.
right, yeah, exactly. And that's totally the motivating reason why we do the Q series, is to take what we've learned through all of our years building our custom series trumpets and offer that in a way that's an affordable instrument for people, but still the same build and sound qualities that we would expect in the rest of the horns. And like for me as a trumpet player, getting to see more and more people have that dream horn at that lower price point, and especially like we're saying, if you need an E flat D and a piccolo and a cornet and a flugel and a C and all of these tools, there's going to be a Q series of each one of those models. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's not breaking the bank to have the arsenal that you need by the time you're done with your degree or by the time you're, taking on more quintet work and
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll repeat too that I'm looking forward to the flugel because for that very reason, I have all of these horns and I need a flugelhorn for sure. I don't need it as much. I won't play it nearly as much as my B flat or my C, but I need one, and I have invested quite a bit on all my horns, so I'm excited for that one to come out because I know it's going to be Shires quality.
I'm so excited about the flugel. So yeah, the piccolo and the E flat D are like 99% done and will be out for sure. I think like early 2021. And then the flugel, it's funny because like as we're starting our conversation before we went live on Facebook, my team is in the showroom, socially distanced, of course, but play testing the prototype of the flugel. So like I hear it, I'm like, well, I'm excited about this, but I wonder what's going on over there. Like I want to go hear how Sean sounds on the flugelhorn. I'll have to get the scoop after the fact. But I'm so grateful for your time and your approach and your willingness to be open with not only your students and the people in your life, but also with us out here virtually.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel super grateful that, I got to play for someone today.
I know it is such a weird, bizarro thing for sure, and that's what John Marciando said in one of our clinics too. It's like this is one of the first live performances that I've had, like for people. Like what a special thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for the work that you do. And for everybody who's watching at home, I linked a few things in our chat so you can find more information about the Q13 that Dr. Borden is playing on right now. We also have that rebate going through the end of the year and financing available at select dealers. So you can inquire about that at shires.com/2020 rebate. And for more information, it's always super easy to just go to the website and send us a little note on the contact form too. We check it every day. We talk to you every day, so we're always happy to answer any questions. But we'll keep the series going. We have more of these clinics every week. Next week, I'm really excited to have Dr. Martin McCain. We're going to be doing our Q series bass trombone feature, and some other fun ones coming up with euphonium, and I think Mr. Alessi is going to be stopping by for one of those as well. So it'll be a blast with getting to showcase our Q series and getting to showcase some of our artists too. So thanks to everybody who is watching and who will watch later. And thanks to you, Brianne, Dr. Borden, for being a part of it today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next time and stay safe and happy practicing. Okay. Bye bye.